So I am Tayon Williams Dancy, and I am your candidate for the Apex Town Council. I feel like I want to say that one more time. I am Tayon Williams Dancy, and I am your candidate for the Apex Town Council. And then I moved across the street to Walden, I think it was called Walden Creek. We bought our first home maybe a year later. When I look at Apex today, one of my concerns is my daughter, who's a senior in high school, my son, who's a junior. Could they leave college and buy a house like I did that first year? Nope. They couldn't, and that saddens me that they're not able to come back to the town unless they live in my attic, which we're hoping not for. You're welcome to come back if you need to. But we hope that they will fly with their own wings. The median value of owner-occupied housing, according to the Census Bureau 2020, is $371,200, and the cost of that is almost $2,000 for your monthly payment. And the median cost for rent is almost $1,500. So I want to address policies working collaboratively with other businesses or nonprofits and state government legislation to provide support and access to affordable housing. I see Phil in the room, and Phil is a big advocate. If you haven't seen him out there talking about affordable housing, I don't know where you are, because he is everywhere. So I engage with many community members who are seeking to downsize even in retirement. As I think about our children leaving home, we may want to downsize, but looking for a home in Apex to downsize to cannot even compare to what we're living in now. We may not even be able to afford to do that. And so in talking to community members, some have had to decide when they downsize to leave Apex. I want them to be able to age in place. So I want to implement policies also to assist public service workers. Talk to my daughter's teachers and son teachers a lot, and a lot of them live outside of Apex, but they come into work every day. Why do you live outside of Apex? Because I cannot afford to live here. So teachers, public service workers, firemen, veterans, lower income community members, the ability to live in our town is important to me. I would support mixed income development that would allow people with lower income access to affordable homes. I would also work with groups or organizations like the North Carolina Housing Coalition, the Western Regional Affordable Housing Action Group, to drive continuous improvements in our affordable housing plan. Apex did just recently approve an affordable housing plan, so I give them a hand clap for that, and Phil was a big person, behind that. But there is still much work to be done, and I hope you are here today to also be a part of that work to help us. People can talk about you belonging, and you've heard that word, inclusivity and belonging, as people have spoken. But what really matters is how a person or place makes you feel. So I can tell you I'm inclusive, but when you are in my presence, do you feel included? Do you feel like I really care about what you're talking about? Do you feel like I'm even listening to you? Even if we leave the table and we agree to disagree, when I leave your presence, you should still feel like you were heard. And that is my hope. So I want to know from you today, what keeps you up at night about this town? What does Apex do now that you want to continue? Maybe there are some really great things and you want to see those things continue. You want to see more investment in those areas. What are those things? So I would foster relationships and partnerships with nonprofit member-based organizations to begin a day at the town council. Nicole talked about my days with Delta Days, and one of the things I organized, and Karen also talked about that with Wake Up Wake County, was Delta Days at the school board, Delta Days at the town council. I love to bring that to the town with multiple organizations across, because a lot of times there's only a few people in the room when the town council meetings happen, but to become educated about that will be important. So this approach could be taken into our town council, and I look forward to being a part of the town council to be able to execute on some of that. I also would love to host an annual hanging out at the Peak. If you don't know about Apex being called the Peak of Good Living, we use peak in everything. That's why my tagline is also aim beyond the peak. But I'd like to do a hanging out in the Peak. Yes, I want you to come into the town, but I want to come visit you too. What if we hosted a tour day where the town council and staff members boarded a bus, maybe it's the Go Apex bus, and we come to your location. We talk about what we're doing in the town. We listen to you and we hear about what you're talking about and we have some fun. Maybe there's blow-up stations there. Maybe there's balloons. There's artwork for kids. But we come and we spend a few minutes in each area of the town as we go around Apex. Will you help me do that? Will you help me execute on that? So I've been asked also about my support for the LGBTQ plus community. And so I do want to spend a moment to address that. I believe that no group should be marginalized. I support LGBTQ plus rights, including marriage, and I believe that the community should feel safe in our town, just as any other person or group. No one should feel marginalized for their religion, for their race, for their creed, for their culture, for their disability, whatever it is. And so I want to make sure that all people feel included. So what would I do? I'd review the town non-discriminatory ordinance, special event policies and process, and other areas that may show conscious or unconscious bias, because sometimes people just don't know. But if you can sit down and have a conversation cordially with each other, you may be able to come to an understanding. I believe North Carolina should ratify the Equal Rights Act. We're one of the few states that has not done that. That requires some lobbying at that state level to guarantee that there is no discrimination when it comes to gender. Manageable growth and infrastructure, my third point. It's also a part of my platform. In the Biz Journal article from May 27, 2022, Apex was deemed as the 10th largest growth rate in the country and the largest growth in North Carolina. Apex beat Durham and our state capital. So growth is inevitable in Apex. I believe town leadership needs to focus on how best to manage that growth while preserving the quality of life for all of Apex. Given that our population has grown, Apex now looks like a shiny star, y'all. Businesses want to come here because they see the growth, they see the trajectory, they see the people of Apex. And so how do we manage that growth? How do we even look at, do we slow residential growth? Do we look at how we bring those businesses in so that we're able to not just go outside of our town to do things, but we're able to do things right within our town? What can we do about that? How do we ensure, going back to that affordable housing, that growth includes people with ranges of income? So one of the very challenging issues in our town is roads. And that one is one that keeps me up at night. The ability to keep up with the pace of growth in Apex can be daunting. That infrastructure thing can be very demanding. And so what makes this issue so challenging is that plans require involvement from other areas, not just Apex and not just the town. You gotta work with organizations like DOT. Highways are not owned by Apex. I remember moving here, Highway 55, remember I lived there and I used to work in RTP. Driving down to RTP, if I left 5 minutes too late, if it rained, it took me an hour to get to work and it should have been 25 minutes maybe. And so expanding that highway was a huge effort, but it wasn't owned by the town. And so that's an area where I'd like to see us continue to work with the other organization. So my motivation is to impact people in the community. If you've heard nothing else today, that's who I am. It's a core part of who I am. I want to hear from you. I want to talk to you. I want to see what we can do together. I want to see how we together can aim beyond the peak. Our motivation is to impact people. Wherever I am, the impact should follow. Wherever my campaign team is, the impact should follow. They are all in for the same campaign points that I'm talking about here. My campaign team and the supporters are all in. My experience for advocating for legislation and policies at the federal, state, and local levels has prepared me well to lead in this space. My career in software and my role as a program manager has prepared me to lead. Skills like managing without authority. I don't have HR responsibilities for people now. I used to, but I still have to influence them so that we can come towards a common vision. Prioritization, budgeting, strategic planning, all are transferable skills. My experience impacting legislation at the federal, state, and local levels also. So my tagline is aim beyond the peak. And AIM represents the three things I've just talked about. A, access to affordable housing. I, inclusive community and communication. M, manageable growth and infrastructure. I hope you will come along with me as we Apex, aim beyond the peak. Can I hear y'all say that? I'm going to say aim. Y'all say beyond the peak. Aim.
Beyond the peak.
Aim.
Beyond the peak.
Aim.
Beyond the peak.
I know that together we can aim beyond the peak. Yes, Apex is a great place to live, to stay, to visit, to retire in, but we have not reached the pinnacle. There is more. And I hope that you will be a supporter for me and help me get in that seat for Apex Town Council so that we together can aim beyond the peak. Thank you for your time.